Peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be going over DEFG and the rest of the Grayscale Trust, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Nashville Bitcoin Conference and the implications of that. So with that being said, let's get it. Okay, so did have a request here from Bo Warner 7724 asking to talk about DEFG, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. So what is DEFG? It's the Grayscale Decentralized Finance Fund, or DeFi in short. As you guys know, DeFi is it's like a niche or a sector of crypto. So crypto has different niches. They have like layer 1, layer 2, AI, DePIN, gaming, file storage. There's literally endless different niches that are in crypto. There's a lot of them, and DeFi would be considered to be a niche or like a grouping of different cryptocurrencies. So I'm not going to get too deep into this chart. There's some other things I want to talk about that I think are more important. There's a few things I will point out though. This particular fund does have a 2.5% expense ratio. I think when comparing the expense ratio of this to the expense ratio of something like the Bitcoin or the spot Ether ETFs, personally, if I was actually gonna buy the spot Ether ETFs or Bitcoin ETFs, I would just buy those instead of this. If I'm being completely honest, and I would go buy the underlying cryptos off of the market directly that are in this fund, because again, when you buy the underlying cryptos, assuming that you have a Coinbase One membership, which they basically for a monthly fee, you don't have to pay I don't know what it's called. It's like a fee or something, but you don't have to pay that with a Coinbase One membership, monthly membership. So you'd be effectively be able to bypass this crazy expense ratio right here by doing those things. That's what I would do if I was in that situation. You guys can see it's a relatively new fund, so it came out a year after DeFi Summer. Again, DeFi Summer was in 2020. This was in 2021, so that really shouldn't come as a shock. 233,000 shares, which is pretty small. Again, that, if there was a lot of interest in this thing could blow up in price substantially. Based on the fact that the assets under management is very, very small. It's only 4 million, and the share count is also very small, 233,000. Most stocks usually have probably 10 or 100 million shares or something like that. So for 233,000 shares is nothing. The other thing I want to point out here is the holdings that it has. So you guys can see it only has 5 holdings. A lot of these are not all of them, but a few of them, I believe, are top 50 large cap altcoins. So Uniswap is one, Maker is one. If it's not currently in the top 50, it was at one point. Aave also in that same situation. Synthetics is a smaller cap. But the bottom line I want to make about these coins is you can just go buy them directly off the exchanges. You don't necessarily have to buy this fund, and it can surpass the 2.5 expense ratio. Again, don't quote me on this, but I believe if you have a Gemini credit card with the Gemini Crypto Exchange, they actually allow you to buy off of the exchange without a fee. And I do actually have one of those Gemini credit cards with a pretty large credit limit. And I also have a Coinbase One membership, which allows me to forego the fees on Coinbase. So I would essentially be able to buy all these for a small monthly subscription fee from Coinbase, free of charge, essentially. So DEFG, you guys can see it's down quite a bit from the highs here. So if I just measure this real quick, you can see that it's actually down pretty substantially. Why is that? Well, it's pretty simple, because the spotlight again has been on Bitcoin and Ether. We haven't really seen that roll off in the Bitcoin dominance to indicate an alt season is at hand. Actually, if you guys can see in real time here, Bitcoin dominance is still going up. So until we get a roll off of that, likely this is not going to shoot up in price, because again, this particular fund is made up of altcoins. The last thing I'll say about this is the best time to buy something like this would have been during the bear market lows, or pretty close to the bear market lows, kind of at this flat level here at maybe $8 if you had bought back then. You'd be sitting on, I don't know how many X's this is, like an 8X, 9X, something like that. So in terms of the long term, if you have a vision and you're willing to wait like 2, 3, 4 years and you eventually see a bottom like this, you say, you have like a bunch of different indicators, how to read charts and stuff like this. You can look at this and say, okay, how far is this down from, let's say it did have a full cycle and you saw a bull and a bear run. We'll say, okay, this thing is down 88, 90%. Maybe I should pick it up now, because altcoins usually when they go to bear market lows, they will be down, most of them about 90 to 99%. So that is DEFG. So I want to talk a little bit about the, well, actually, let me show you guys the Bitcoin dominance real quick. So you can see that we're actually still, I'm not sure how this is even possible because we got a breakdown, but we are still within this wedge pattern here. So until we get a falling off of some kind out of this wedge pattern like that, until we get something like that, I just don't see the likelihood that we're going to have an alt season anytime soon. Again, I'm keeping a close eye on the Bitcoin dominance, but it does take time for these things to play out. Again, we weren't really supposed to see Bitcoin hit new all-time highs until this December, and we weren't really supposed to see ETH and altcoins hit new all-time highs until probably about Q1 of next year. So the fact that we're even talking about this now tells us, we're already ahead of schedule, and the market not necessarily, but it may need a little bit of time to reset to get ready for an alt season at the appointed time. So the Nashville Bitcoin Conference, as you guys know, that's happening. It's still happening currently, if I'm not mistaken. Today is Saturday. That's not what I'm saying I'm not mistaken about, but today is Saturday. So, but what I mean to say is, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Donald Trump is supposed to speak at the Bitcoin conference today. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for what he has to say about Bitcoin and a potential strategic reserve for Bitcoin. Now, I'll say something about this strategic reserve thing. Okay, so RFK recently just came out and said, and don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure I saw him say that he thinks that the government should have 4 million Bitcoin for a strategic reserve. Number one, no, I don't think that's a good idea, okay? Because then nobody else will be able to buy Bitcoin, and none of the crypto investors are going to like the sound of that. None of them are going to like the sound of that, okay? Bitcoin is supposed to be for everybody. Everybody should have a chance to be able to buy Bitcoin. Everybody wants to buy Bitcoin that's in crypto, most likely, unless you're just a straight alt degen like me. So, and it doesn't mean I'm not bullish on Bitcoin. It just means that Bitcoin's expensive and there may be a better time to buy it in the future when it's cheap. So that's number one. Number two, even though the government has the money to do it, I don't think they should do it. Here's a couple of reasons why. Number one, if they buy all the Bitcoin up, then nobody else will have the chance to buy and sell it, which means that the price probably will not move. That's not bullish for the price of Bitcoin, okay? That's number one. So I disagree with RFK on that. Number two, there's not 4 million Bitcoin that's even in circulation to be bought. Again, you guys got to remember, 1 million Bitcoin is being held privately and has been held privately since the inception of Bitcoin by Satoshi Nakamoto. That has not been found. It has not been moved. It has not been offloaded onto the market. Then there's probably another 3 to 4 million Bitcoin that have been lost over time, because at some point in time we didn't have, cold storage wallets and things of that nature. So you had to leave your money on exchanges. Hence the reason why the Bitcoin Mt. Gox thing is being talked about right now. And, Mt. Gox is selling off, or the people that had their Bitcoin on there are getting their Bitcoin back, and they're probably selling it for profit, or maybe they're not. I don't know. So there's those 3 to 4 million Bitcoin just floating around out there. Okay. And I believe roughly about 17 million of the Bitcoin already has been put into circulation, and there's only ever 21 million Bitcoin. So it's actually not possible to even buy 4 million Bitcoin. Here's what I think that Trump should do. Okay, I don't think RFK is going to be president. I'll just be honest about it. But I do think when Trump becomes president, I would say probably 100 to 2, maybe 100. Well, since it's a beginning phase, a testing phase, maybe 50 to 100,000 Bitcoin. Okay, 4 years, 50 to 100,000 Bitcoin. They just kind of sit on it, and the government, lets it do what they do. And just see how things progress and see how the people warm up to the idea of having a Bitcoin strategic reserve. I think that would be a good idea because, again, it takes time for people to adjust to new things. Plus, it would be, you know, a show of good faith by Trump to show that he really truly does support the Bitcoin community without actually trying to own the Bitcoin community. Again, Bitcoin is for the people; it is not for the government. So let's get into the Grayscale Trust. The last thing I'll say about DEFG is there's a lot more money to be made in single cryptocurrencies, single assets like Litecoin, Bitcoin, Aave, synthetics. It's a lot easier to make money on single cryptos than it is a crypto fund. Crypto funds are not necessarily designed to make you rich. They're designed to give you diversification. So I would rather put my money in single cryptos and have higher risk, higher reward than have the diversification in crypto, because again, you can get that same kind of diversification in stocks. And also, the other thing is that the crypto market does not have SIPC insurance. Okay, there is no stock insurance, so to speak, or bank insurance like FDIC. So that's something else to keep in mind with these diversified funds. Okay, it's backed by whatever maybe insurance the company has. I'm not sure, but it's still not as good as SIPC or FDIC, at least in my opinion. The other thing is that the Fed is not there for the crypto market as a buyer of last resort like they are for TradFi. So anyways, LTCN, so we did get back to this trend line. As you guys can see, big fat red bar here. That's not surprising. The market's been selling off. So once again, support 18 all the way up here to 25. You're looking at 23 to 27 as resistance here, and then 54 as the swing high. We're either going to bounce off this trend line and kind of coil up and then rip to the upside in this ascending triangle, or we're going to come back down and retest the green support and then come back up into the triangle and rip to the upside. That's how I see this playing out. So we'll just go ahead and measure this. You're looking at roughly about 50% and 195% respectively. BCHG, so this one is looking like it wants to come back down to the support. So support is going to be at $7 to $7.70. Resistance 1040 to 1270. You got 1820 to 20 and a quarter, and then I believe $24 all the way up at the top there. So if it gets back down to the support, which is where I'd be looking to buy in, again, you guys can buy where you want to, but this current red resistance level here is resistance. So 76%, 174%, and then 200 and roughly about 30% respectively. HZEN, so we're still within the wedge. Again, this is a bullish pattern. The target is the top of the wedge, so $10.50. We have retested support here, so it's a good dip buying opportunity. 380 to 420. Again, that's not financial advice. I'm just telling you guys I would see this as a dip buying opportunity. If I was going to get in, I would do so now. So $6.90 to $8 here, and roughly about 10.5 all the way at the swing high. So you're looking at about 96% to 150% here. ETCG, so we did actually touch this box down here. It's looking maybe like we might try to go down and enter into that zone. I don't know. I mean, this candle did close above this channel, so we're still in the channel. So I'll just give you guys the different zones here. So 870 to about 990, and then you have 11 to 13, and then we're looking at let's see, 1590, 1770, and roughly about $20 respectively. So from the current price to the first two targets, we'll say 44% and then roughly about 84% respectively. However, if it comes down to this green box here, it then becomes 67% and roughly about 112% respectively. So ETH, this is now a I mean, the chart essentially looks the same, but this is now a spot Ether ETF. So, yeah, it basically just negated all of the different setups that we had on here. So, pretty much what I will say is this. Let me see if I can find that rectangle real quick. There we go. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is a potential kind of, it's hard to gauge exactly where this is, but roughly right about there as support, okay? So we're at least looking for this to go somewhere from support into this kind of double top here. Again, we have a massive cup and handle pattern. Could just kind of draw that here. It's not going to be perfect. Again, you could even, I suppose you could even probably call that a falling wedge. But pretty much from the launch point, as you guys can see, this target would line up almost exactly with these previous highs up here at 46 bucks. So we're looking for anywhere around this double top at 36 to basically up to 46 as a target here. I know I said I wouldn't cover this again because it's spot Ether ETF, but the chart literally looks the same. So 31% all the way up to potentially 68%. And again, because spot Ether ETFs are trading, I think the upside is much likely much higher than that. So PhilG still coming down, still kind of testing these candle lows here. If we get below, it's going to go to 37 to 40. And then 400 all the way up here at the swing high. Again, I don't know for certain that it's going to go down to 37 to 40, but I'm pretty confident at this point that's what's going to happen. So 895% move on PhilG. Again, we do have the actual Filecoin, so that should tell you how bullish we are on the Filecoin token. So GBAT has gotten a close down below this support level. Again, the more times it does test a level, the more likely it is to break. As you guys can see, we were getting these kind of lower highs here. I was expecting a breakout to the upside, but of course you guys know that the stock market has been pulling back. So that doesn't come as a surprise that it weighs on crypto, but again, this is just another dip buying opportunity if you're interested in dollar cost averaging down. So 440 to 510 now becomes the new support. Previous support 810 to roughly about $10, and the swing high up here at 32. So I'll just measure it from the current price to the high, 326%, and then from the lower support all the way up to the high up here at 578% move. GLIV, so this thing wanted to break out, but it failed. So I suspect likely we're probably going to come back down to support here. 12 to 1460, and then the swing high up here at $80. Again, you guys got to understand, a lot of people that look at these, that are invested into crypto, they don't look at charts. They just follow other content creators and stuff like this. So when we see the movements in the crypto market, we see them kind of in a different light than most people do. Most people just get in for like a quick buck or whatever, and whether they make that money or not, I don't know. It depends on when you get in and when you get out, I suppose, and your mentality about crypto. But we try to give you guys the moves that we think are coming ahead, so you can kind of get an edge over the rest of the market, so to speak. And there's no guarantee that that's even going to happen, but understanding the underlying workings of how all this works kind of does, in essence, give you the chance at least to have an edge over the market into the future. So 500% move here on GLIV. G-Link, this thing just absolutely capitulated. I didn't think it was going to come down this fast. So we're at the bottom of the support now. Again, this is roughly about 65 to 85 here on G-Link. The swing high, all-time high, is up here at 220. So you're looking at roughly about a 230% move here. Again, we have one of the fib levels up here, $260. And yes, I do think that's possible. Again, we have not really seen much of an all season yet. So GSOL, I'll reiterate once again, I would not touch this thing with a 10-foot pole, because if there is some kind of black swan event, which I'm not saying there's going to happen, there is going to be something like this could happen. We could see a massive drop on this. In my opinion, it's just too far gone from the golden buying opportunity zone for me to want to touch it. But to each their own, maybe some people don't see it like that. Just to give you guys an idea of the upside here on the Fibonacci level, we're looking at the first target would be up here at $840. So if I turn out to be wrong, then your immediate move would still be pretty huge. It'd be about a 70% move. So not bad. Not as good as if you got it down here at support though, and then rode it all the way up to that fib level. The move would then be 330%. So 200% move to get from support all the way to the all-time high up there. So GXLM, we're pushing against this lower trend line, not getting above it. So I would still say this line down here is going to be support. So 25 and then 53 to roughly about 59 at the resistance, and then 70 at the swing high up there. So from that line to resistance, you're looking at 135%, and then all the way up at the swing high, 177%. Mana, so we have gotten a weekly confirmation close below this support zone here. So the line we're looking at now as support, that's going to be roughly about 1070. And the all-time high is all the way up here at 70. And I'm not saying that these are not going to go higher, guys. I do genuinely believe the grayscale trusts are going to go higher. I just don't think it's the right time for it to do it yet. So 550% move here. Again, you know, the main focus here, the spotlight is still on Bitcoin and Ethereum. You know, you got presidential candidates talking about Bitcoin. You got the spot Ether ETFs trading now. I mean, you know, at some point we're going to get the Fed rate cuts, and then we'll have the buy the rumor, sell the news, right? Like, oh, everybody's bullish on the news of the Bitcoin reserve by Donald Trump, right? And then it actually happens and everybody sells off and they move their money out of Bitcoin to Ethereum and altcoins. That's probably what the whales are going to do. If I had to guess, I would say that's likely what the whales are going to do, because, you know, the whales are millionaires and billionaires and multi-billionaires for a reason. Okay, they're Bitcoin whales for a reason. They accumulated tens of thousands of Bitcoin for a reason, because they're smart. They see these moves coming ahead of time. They know exactly how to play it. They've been doing this for a long time. So Zcash 440 to 510, and then you have $8 to 970 up here at the resistance, and 10.25 at the swing high up here. Again, Zcash is in the buy zone. You guys can do what you want to with that. You'd be looking at roughly about 69 to 103%, and then 116% respectively. So anyways, hope you all enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.